The House of Savoy. The House of Savoy traces its origins back over 1,000 years to Humbert the White-Handed, the first Count of Savoy. This noble family comes from the Savoy region, located in the northwest of present-day Italy. For many centuries they ruled as counts and later dukes of Savoy. It wasn't until the 18th century, during the War of the Spanish Succession, that they gained royal status by siding with the Habsburgs. As a reward, they were granted the crown of Sicily. However, after only 7 years, they had to exchange Sicily for Sardinia, where they ruled for a much longer time. Eventually, through the unification of Italy, the Kingdom of Sardinia transformed into the Kingdom of Italy, making the Savoys rulers of a significant European power. There was also a short period when a lesser branch of the family held the Spanish throne, but that didn't last long. The House of Viddlesbach. This dynasty began with a Bavarian count named Otto. The first major title they gained was that of Holy Roman Emperor, a significant crown. Over the centuries, members of the family were elected emperor 3 times, but each time they lost the title after just 1 generation. They also briefly ruled Denmark, Norway and Sweden during the time of the Kalmar Union, as well as Bohemia during the 30 Years' War, though none of these reigns lasted very long. Stability didn't come until 1654, when a branch called the House of Palatinat-Zweibrücken took the Swedish throne and managed to build a lasting dynasty there. Later, during the Napoleonic era, Bavaria was elevated to a kingdom, and the Wittelsbachs became its kings. They ruled Bavaria as independent monarchs until it became part of the German Empire in 1871, after which they continued as kings within the empire until the monarchy ended in 1918. The House of Nassau. Originating with a German count, the House of Nassau briefly held the title of Holy Roman Emperor, but their real influence came later through a powerful offshoot, the House of Orange-Nassau. This branch rose to prominence when William the Silent became a key leader in the Dutch struggle for independence from Spain. Though the Dutch Republic didn't have a monarchy at the time, the Orange-Nassau family effectively served as its ruling house. Their formal elevation to royalty came in 1815, when the Netherlands was declared a kingdom and the family took the throne. Today, the Dutch royal family still traces its roots to the House of Orange-Nassau, although the current king descends through a female line. The male-only agnatic line came to an end with Queen Wilhelmina's passing in 1948. Interestingly, the dynasty also made a brief appearance on the British stage. William III of Orange ruled England and Scotland alongside his wife, Mary II, following the Glorious Revolution, making them co-monarchs for a time. The House of Ivrea, also known as the Ansgarids, the House of Ivrea was an ancient dynasty with roots in northwestern Italy. One of its early members, Berengar II, briefly ruled as King of Italy during the 10th century, back when the Carolingians still reigned in France. However, his reign was cut short by Otto the Great, the man often credited as the first true Holy Roman Emperor. Although the Italian crown slipped from their grasp, Berengar's grandson became Count of Burgundy, and through a strategic marriage to Empress Urraca of Castile and Leon, the family redirected its ambitions toward the Iberian Peninsula. There, they established a foothold in Spanish politics and are often referred to as the House of Burgundy, though distinct from the French-rooted Portuguese branch with the same name. Over time, a powerful illegitimate offshoot known as the House of Trastamara rose to prominence, eventually splitting into 2 branches, one ruling Castile, the other Aragon and Sicily. When Queen Isabella of Castile married King Ferdinand of Aragon, both members of this dynasty, the 2 kingdoms united under one crown, laying the foundation for modern Spain. But with no surviving sons, their dynasty ended in 1516, and the Spanish throne passed to their grandson from another royal house. This transition marked the end of an era and the beginning of Spain's rise as a global empire under new leadership. Despite their decline, the legacy of the House of Ivrea lived on through the political and cultural unification of Spain. The House of Hohenzollern. The Hohenzollern family started out in the Rhineland, but rose to major prominence after gaining control of two important regions, Brandenburg, in what is now northeastern Germany, and Prussia, near present-day Poland. With these lands under their rule, they began to expand their influence, eventually adopting the title King in Prussia, which later became simply King of Prussia. One of their most renowned leaders, Frederick the Great, turned Prussia into a European heavyweight, rivaling even the long-standing Holy Roman Empire. After that empire fell and the Austrian Empire took its place, a new power emerged, the German Empire. In 1871, it was the Hohenzollerns, then kings of Prussia, who led the unification of Germany, and their king was crowned Kaiser, or Emperor, of the newly formed nation. They ruled this empire until the collapse of the monarchy at the end of World War I in 1918. But the family story didn't end with Germany. A lesser-known branch, the Hohenzollern-Sigmaringen line, became kings of Romania in the 19th century and stayed on the throne until Romania's monarchy was abolished in 1947 after the rise of communism. Even though they no longer hold power, the Hohenzollerns were central players in shaping the political landscape of both Germany and Eastern Europe for centuries. The House of Welf. The House of Welf is one of the oldest noble dynasties in Europe, with roots going back over 1,000 years. Like the houses of Wittelsbach and Nassau, they briefly held the title of Holy Roman Emperor in the early medieval period. However, their real political power resurfaced much later, when a branch of the family, known as the House of Brunswick-Lüneburg, eventually rose to the British throne. In the 18th century, after the Protestant line of the House of Stuart died out, the British crown passed to this German family, now better known in the UK as the House of Hanover. They ruled Britain through some of its most influential years, including the height of the British Empire after the Napoleonic Wars. During that time, their ancestral homeland of Hanover was elevated to the status of a kingdom, initially in personal union with Britain, but later ruled separately from 1837 to 1866. Interestingly, the Welfs even touched Russian history, albeit briefly, when an infant family member, Ivan VI, was named emperor, only to be overthrown within a year. Even more remarkable is that the Welfs, along with the Italian House of Este, can both trace their male line ancestry back to Boniface of Tuscany, a powerful noble appointed by Charlemagne himself. This makes the Welfs not only politically influential, but also the oldest dynasty on this list in terms of unbroken male line descent. Their long and winding legacy connects medieval Italy, the British Empire, and even Imperial Russia. Testament to their rare dynastic reach across time and geography. The House of Weton. The House of Weton is yet another dynasty with deep roots in the German-speaking world. Like many noble families from the Carolingian era, it began with local counts, in this case, from the small German town of Wetten, who gradually gained power and land far beyond their origins. Over the centuries, they climbed the ranks of European nobility, eventually becoming royalty. The first major breakthrough came when Augustus the Strong, a Wetten prince, was elected King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania. His son succeeded him, and the family later became the Royal House of Saxony after the kingdom was created in 1806. But their influence didn't stop there. A cadet branch known as the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha dramatically extended the Wettin legacy in the 19th century. Members of this line ended up on the thrones of Belgium, Portugal, Bulgaria, and most notably, the United Kingdom. When Queen Victoria died in 1901, the British crown passed to her son, Edward VII, making the British royal family, by male descent, a part of the House of Wetten. Though the name was changed to Windsor during World War I for political reasons, the dynasty itself remained the same. That means today both the Belgian and British royal families are direct descendants of this once obscure German house. The fact that the Wettins place monarchs across so many different countries and still sit on some of Europe's most influential thrones makes their legacy unusually far-reaching in the modern era. The House of Oldenberg. Though it's not as widely recognised outside of academic circles, the House of Oldenberg ranks among the most influential dynasties in European history. Originating in northern Germany in the early Middle Ages, the family rose to prominence when Christian the Rivalries ascended to the Danish throne in 1448. From that moment on, the Oldenburgs ruled Denmark almost continuously for over 5 centuries, a reign that still continues today through a cadet branch. The original male line eventually gave way to the House of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg. Glücksburg, more simply called Glücksburg, which still occupies the Danish throne and also provided monarchs to Norway and Greece. Norway's current royal family, under King Harald V, is descended from this line, and so was the now deposed Greek monarchy. But perhaps even more remarkable is another junior branch, the House of Holstein-Gottorp. This line produced Swedish kings and, more notably, merged into the Russian imperial family when Peter III, born into the Holstein-Gottorp line, became Tsar. After Catherine the Great's coup, all subsequent Russian monarchs, including the last Tsar, Nicholas II, were technically Oldenburgs by agnatic descent, even though they used the name Romanov. But the Oldenburg legacy doesn't stop there. Through Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, consort of Queen Elizabeth II, the current British royal family is also tied to this house. Philip was born into the Greek and Danish royal families, making his descendants, including King Charles III and Prince William, agnatically part of the House of Oldenburg, even though they use the name Windsor. When viewed through the lens of male line descent, the House of Oldenburg has supplied monarchs to Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Greece, Russia, and even the United Kingdom. Very few royal families can match that breadth of influence. With its extraordinary geographic reach and enduring presence, the House of Oldenburg has arguably ruled more major European kingdoms for longer than any other dynasty on this list. The House of Habsburg. The House of Habsburg stands as one of the most influential and far-reaching dynasties in European history. Originally rising from a castle in present-day Switzerland, the Habsburgs became the dominant political force of Central Europe. From 1438 until 1740, they held the title of Holy Roman Emperor almost without interruption, commanding vast territories across the continent. At their height, they ruled not only Austria, Bohemia, and Hungary, but also controlled many German principalities within the empire. Their influence extended even further when the Habsburgs inherited the Spanish crown in 1516. With it came the Spanish Empire, which at the time included southern Italy, the Netherlands, and an enormous overseas empire in the Americas. For nearly 60 years, they also ruled Portugal, uniting the Iberian empires under one dynasty and creating one of the largest global empires the world had ever seen. However, their pursuit of dynastic continuity through tightly controlled marriage alliances led to severe inbreeding, especially in the Spanish branch. This culminated in the death of Charles II of Spain in 1700, who left no heirs, ending the Spanish Habsburg line. The Austrian branch continued until 1780 with the death of Maria Theresa, after which her descendants carried on the legacy under a new name, the House of Habsburg-Lorraine, through her marriage to Francis of Lorraine. Though technically a different house in the male line, the Habsburg-Lorraines maintained the dynasty's political stature, ruling as emperors of Austria and later as Austro-Hungarian monarchs until the collapse of the monarchy in 1918. The Habsburgs left a profound legacy. They shaped centuries of European politics, orchestrated major religious conflicts and settlements, and ruled over territories that stretched across continents. Their blend of political skill, dynastic ambition, and eventual decline makes them one of the most fascinating families in European history. The House of Capet. The House of Capet is one of the most significant yet surprisingly underappreciated royal dynasties in European history. While names like the Habsburgs, Romanovs, or Tudors may dominate popular imagination, the Capetians quietly built and maintained one of the longest-lasting and most far-reaching dynastic networks the continent has ever seen. Their legacy spans over a millennium. Their descendants have ruled in more countries than any other royal house, and their male line endures to this day. Yet few outside historical circles are familiar with just how dominant the Capetian dynasty truly was. Founded in 987 AD by Hugh Capet, Count of Paris, the dynasty emerged during a time of great instability in West Francia following the decline of Carolingian rule. Hugh's election as king marked the beginning of what would become an unbroken line of French monarchs that lasted for over 800 years, making the Capetians the longest-ruling royal house in French history. More importantly, this line did not die out, it simply branched out. The Capetians excelled at dynastic expansion. Through a mixture of inheritance, marriage alliances, conquest, and sheer political calculation, male line branches of the family came to rule over a staggering number of European states. In Spain, the Bourbon branch, descending directly from the Capetians, has ruled almost continuously since the early 18th century. The current monarch, King Felipe VI, is a direct male line descendant of Hugh Capet, making the Capetians not a relic of history, but a living dynasty. In Portugal, the Capetian legacy began with the House of Burgundy, a branch that founded the Portuguese monarchy. Its successor, the House of Avis, also descended from this line, carried Portugal through its golden age of exploration and global expansion. Hungary and southern Italy were ruled by the Angevin branch, which at one point made Hungary a dominant Central European power, and Naples a cultural hub of the Mediterranean. The Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, which lasted until Italian unification, also traced its roots to this family. Even beyond Western Europe, Capetian influence extended eastward. The House of Courtenay, a lesser-known offshoot, briefly held the Latin Empire of Constantinople. A Crusader state formed after the Fourth Crusade captured the Byzantine capital in 1204. Meanwhile, Henry III of Valois, a Capetian, was elected King of Poland in the late 16th century, further demonstrating the family's reach across the continent. One particularly curious episode involved Louis the Lion, a Capetian prince who, during the chaos of King John's reign in England, was invited by rebel English barons to take the English throne. Though he never secured it permanently, he controlled large parts of southern England for over a year and was even proclaimed king by his supporters. What distinguishes the Capetians is not just the number of thrones they held, but the durability of their legacy. Despite revolutions, wars, and shifting borders, Capetian bloodlines have remained remarkably resilient. Unlike many dynasties that faded entirely into history, the Capetians adapted, branched out, and continued. Today, the male line descendants of Hugh Capet still sit on the throne of Spain, a living link to medieval Europe. And yet, despite this immense historical footprint, the House of Capet is rarely given the attention it deserves. Overshadowed by flashier names or more dramatic tales, its legacy is often hidden in plain sight. But when one takes a closer look at the royal genealogies of Europe, one finds that the Capetians are everywhere, quietly, consistently, and powerfully shaping the political landscape of the continent for over 1,000 years. In terms of continuity, influence, and the number of sovereign thrones held, few dynasties, if any, can rival the House of Capet. It is a cornerstone of European monarchy, one whose legacy still resonates in the present, even if it is not widely recognised by name. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of royal dynasties, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future episodes. We're always working on new content that explores the hidden stories, surprising facts and epic rivalries that shaped European history. And your support helps make that possible. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What did you find most interesting about this episode? Did anything surprise you? And which royal house, historical period, or historical figure should we cover next? Let's keep discovering history together.